Thank you, Lisa, and to the Cancer Wellness Center. And thank you all so much for being here today for our program. And we're going to be learning today about stress reduction through breath work and through meditation. My name is Serena Jain. I've been at the Cancer Wellness Center for just about 3 years now in May. And I've been running mindfulness programs and mindfulness courses here for that long. And it's been such a pleasure to see all of you and also work with many of you and to see familiar faces here today in this program. So again, we're going to be doing quite a bit of learning as well as practice today. So you'll be learning techniques as well as having the opportunity to practice and experience them. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to be rotating through this deck to teach you a little bit about what we're doing. So today's agenda will include, since we're here to learn about breath work, I want to share a little bit about, well, what is breath work? What does it actually mean? What is meditation? What does meditation mean? What does it, entail? What happens when we are stressed? What is stress actually, what does it mean? And how does it show up for us in our bodies and our minds? When we practice breath work, how does it actually help with stress? What are the mechanisms of breath work and what does it do when we're stressed? Today, we're going to learn the 4-7-8 breath work technique. We're also going to learn the box breathing technique. We're going to talk about how meditation, different from breath work, will help us with stress. And we will end with learning a belly breathing meditation. So let's go ahead and we'll get started. So breath work, well, first of all, breathing is something that we all do. It is a involuntary and voluntary function of our body. And our breath essentially helps to keep us alive. When we practice breath work, that is an intentional, technique where we are actually controlling the way we breathe to influence our body's inner mechanisms, our systems, our central nervous system, our autonomic nervous system, so on and so forth. So again, breathing is voluntary and involuntary. For example, it's happening right now. Most of the time, we don't even realize we're breathing. It's just happening. But when we are practicing breath work, that is when we are intentionally going to control our breathing. So the reason to do this is that breath work is helpful when we are stressed. It's helpful when we're anxious. And it helps us to increase calm and become more calm and promote a better sense of well-being. So it's another technique we can use that is more holistic. It's got a mind-body approach to mental health and well-being. And breathwork can be done on your own at any time, or you can enroll in structured formal programs to be able to learn breathwork and do breathwork in groups. So meditation is a practice that we do when we would like to become more mindful, basically, to become more intentional about our focus and also to be able to stay and live in the present moment. When we practice meditation, we are reducing thoughts about the future and reducing thoughts about the past, which can end up causing us to feel anxious and distracted and not as focused. So really, meditation practice is very useful for us to cultivate present moment awareness. When we are racing around in thoughts of the past or the future, whether they're not negative or positive, we're really robbing ourselves of that present moment. And when we're not present, that's when things can end up being more difficult for us. They can be more emotionally charged, and we can also miss the joys, the real, true joys of being present in the moment, either big or small. So meditation, one big clarification I'd like to make about meditation is that it's not about coming into a completely empty mind state, because that's not possible. As humans, we are constantly thinking. In fact, we're thinking, I think it's 47% of the time we have thoughts. So again, meditation is not about coming into a completely empty mind state and being clear in the mind. Meditation is simply an exercise we use to increase our awareness of the present moment. Whether that's external awareness or internal awareness, whether we're noticing thoughts, emotions, or external situations or whatever it is, we are bringing as much as we can a non-judgmental awareness to whatever we're noticing. So it's not necessarily noticing whether we like something or dislike something. It's more about just noticing what is here, what is present for me internally, what is happening externally. And that is what meditation helps us to do. It helps us to become more okay and at ease and in the present moment and okay with what is actually happening. So again, it helps us to become more fully present and enjoy being more fully present without judgment and without necessarily reacting to situations and being able to be more responsive to situations. So not reacting too emotionally to situations, but being able to become more responsive, introducing that sense of a pause before we react in a situation. So when you think about stress, if you think about all the different things that, can cause stress in life, what helps us to understand what stress means. So the World Health Organization, they define stress as a state of being worried or having mental tension caused by some sort of difficult situation. So actually, if you think about it, stress is pretty normal. It's a natural response to a situation that is addressing challenges and or threats in our lives. And it's a very natural response to times when things are difficult or stressful. And everyone experiences stress to some degree. So whether it's a low stress, a high stress, everyone will experience stress to some degree, sometimes on a daily basis of some sort. But the way that we deal with stress is going to make a big difference in our overall well-being. So stress is not optional. It is inevitable part of life. The way that we deal with stress is optional, and that is how, we can influence our overall well-being. So what does stress do to us? Well, stress affects, both our mind and our body systems. When we are stressed, usually the thoughts can start to race. Maybe you're ruminating, maybe you're feeling worried or tense. In the body, it can look like muscles tensing up. Maybe your heart is racing faster. Maybe there's a higher rate of perspiration. Maybe you're feeling fidgety. Maybe there's sleep issues. So there's a lot of different ways that stress shows up for us, and it can also exacerbate illness and show up as illness. So a little bit of stress is good. A little bit of stress is good, and it actually helps us to perform our daily activities. For example, if you know you need to be at an appointment at a certain time, you may rush to try to, get things done so you can get there on time. A little bit of stress is normal, it's natural, and it helps us to move along in life in our daily activities and get things done. When there's too much stress, though, that can cause physical and mental health problems. So it's really important that we learn how to cope with stress so that we're not feeling so overwhelmed, and we can actually learn how to cope with stress so that we can support our own mental and our own physical well-being. So some signs of stress. What are some signs of stress? So some signs of stress show up as maybe you're feeling, like you're having a hard time relaxing or letting go in the moment. Maybe you're feeling really, really emotional and emotionally charged and dysregulated. Maybe you're feeling anxious, and what that looks like is, thoughts of the future with a lot of worry and of uncertainty of what's going to happen. Maybe there's some irritability, and you're finding yourself getting triggered. Stress can also show up as a difficulty in concentrating, lack of focus, because your thoughts are racing or because there's just the stressor that's going on, and it makes it hard for you to sit down and get things done. It can also show up in the body in physical ways, such as headaches, tension headaches, body aches. We can experience stress as stomach aches. We can have a disturbance in our sleep, insomnia or early rising or not being able to fall asleep. We can also experience stress in our eating patterns. Sometimes people, when they're stressed, they eat too much. Sometimes people, when they're stressed, they don't want to eat. So it could also result in weight gain or weight loss. So these are all different signs of ways that stress can show up for us. Now, when stress shows up for us and when we end up spending a lot of time in a stressed out state, that can lead us to becoming chronically stressed out. And that can feel like we're revving our engines constantly 24/7 every day, when we're chronically stressed. And chronic stress can really lead to, a worsening of pre-existing health problems. For example, if you have some sort of health issue, chronic stress can exacerbate that health issue. It can increase our need for, external support, such as alcohol, tobacco, or other substances, to help us numb out when we're feeling chronically stressed. Chronic stress can also exacerbate, for example, if we have mental health issues such as anxiety or depression, it can make things more difficult. And chronic stress, lastly, really, really does affect our ability in how we function in our daily life. So chronic stress is something that uh, once experienced, it can be really helpful to start to practice these kind of tools like breath work, meditation, mindfulness, to be able to deal with chronic stress. Now, when you are faced with a difficult situation, I want to reiterate it. This is really important. When we are faced with difficult situations in our lives, in our friends' lives, families' lives, whatever it is, it's actually very natural and normal for us to feel stressed out in challenging situations. You know, if we weren't stressed out and there was a very challenging situation going on, it would be like, well, why aren't you feeling a little bit of stress about this, right? So as we learn to cope in those situations, our stress can reduce over time. Or as the situation improves, our stress can reduce over time. And we'll learn to be able to cope with those situations, in a more emotionally grounded state. So again, normal, natural to feel stress in a challenging situation. Stress can reduce over time as situations improve. However, sometimes situations don't necessarily improve, but we can learn to cope with those situations through these practices that I'm going to share with you today to be able to cope with our emotional state or our physical state through situations. So, real quick, and this is a very long list here, but as you can see, this is how breath work can help us when we're feeling stressed. So breath work is a tool that can help us when we're feeling stressed. And here are all the different ways that it can help us when we are feeling stressed. Breath work helps us to reduce a feeling of stress. It increases our awareness that we are stressed and helps us to regulate that. It activates our relaxation response. It can reduce our cortisol levels, which are stress hormones like adrenaline, norepinephrine, and cortisol, which is what our body produces when we are getting stressed out in that fight, flight, or freeze response. It improves oxygen to the body. So we'll get a larger, supply of oxygen to the body if we focus on breath work. And when we're getting more oxygen, we can lower our blood pressure, our overall body systems, that get exacerbated when we're stressed out. It also helps us to balance our nervous system. Our nervous system can get out of whack when we're feeling stressed out. When we are practicing breath work, we can enhance our experience of mindfulness, which is present moment awareness. We can also really get a feeling of relaxation, of feeling more relaxed, more in the moment when we practice breath work. It helps us to improve digestion. Of course, when we're stressed, our digestive system can take a toll. If you're an athlete, it can help you feel, better in your sport or whatever it is that you do. It improves our focus. So if we're having difficulty concentrating in stress, breath work can help us to focus. It helps us have a better heart rate variability. We feel an enhanced sense of well-being. And it also allows our body to use oxygen more efficiently. We can boost our cardiovascular and respiratory health. We can improve our hormone and neurotransmitter functioning. We can improve our gut, so healthy gut functioning, and increased motor control. Because sometimes when we're stressed, we can get fidgety and maybe not have as strong of motor control in our body systems too. So really, breath work is really, really useful to help us with stress and the symptoms associated with stress, as you can see here. So there's a lot of breathwork techniques out there. You may have heard of some of these before. And again, we can practice these on our own, of course, if we learn them, or in groups as part of group programs, through it with a teacher or with in a class. And so today I'm going to teach you a couple of them, but let's go ahead and talk about a few of these now. So the first one here is called pranayama breathing. And that is basically when you use your fingers and you kind of you breathe in through one nostril and then you close the other nostril and breathe out through the other nostril, and you repeat back and forth to do that. Diaphragmatic breathing would be breathing, deeply from the belly, which we are going to do today too. Alternate nostril breathing is similar to pranayama breathing. Pursed lip breathing would be something like breathing in through the nose and then pursing your lips as you exhale. Box breathing is when you have and we're going to do this today, when you have the same inhale, exhale, and pausing in between in your counts. So for example, you breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4. So we will be practicing that today. 4, 7, 8 breathing is when you breathe in for 4, hold for 7, and breathe out for 8. 5-finger breathing is basically when you trace your 5 fingers and you focus on your breath as you do that. Sudarshan Kriya is a type of breath work which I'm not actually very familiar with, but it's called sky breathing. And you basically it's done through the Art of Living Center, which is the school of Sri Ravi Shankar. But you basically do some type of breath work where I believe it's involved. There's some yoga involved with this type of breath work. Holotropic breath work is another breath work method where I believe there's a lot more holding on to the breath and then exhaling longer. Wim Hof is another type of breath work that was created by a man named Wim Hof. And then biodynamic breath work, which is the last one, which I don't know too much about either. So just for today, we're going to focus on box breathing and 4-7-8 breathing. And these are 2 different methods that you can actually practice on your own as soon as we're done with this workshop today. So we're going to start today, and we're going to do this in a moment with 4-7-8 breathing. So again, 4-7-8 breathing is going to be a practice where we're going to inhale through our nose for 4 seconds. We're going to hold the breath for 7 seconds, and then we're going to exhale through the mouth for 8 seconds. And in this practice, in this exercise, holding our breath is a key component of this technique. And because it really allows our bodies to replenish our oxygen supply as we promote wellness and relaxation. So holding that breath for those 7 seconds is key. If you feel comfortable to practice this, we're going to do this in a moment. I encourage you to try it. If you just want to watch, that's okay too. So it's up to you whether you choose to practice or not. So let's go ahead and get started with our first breathing technique, which is 4-7-8 breathing. So just invite you to come into a comfortable position in the room that you're in, and go ahead and sit up straight if you can, placing your hands in your lap or down by your sides. And it's easier to practice this if we are sitting up straight, because we can encourage deep breathing into the stomach if we're sitting up straight. Whereas the breath may only go into the chest if we're not giving our stomach space. So let's become mindful here for a moment, and let's close the eyes if that's okay, or you can lower your gaze down to the ground and just get a sense and start to notice your whole body seated here in this moment. Just becoming aware of the body and all the many points of contact the body is making with the surface beneath you. So noticing your feet in touch with the ground, noticing the backs of your legs and your body supported by the chair. Coming up to notice your chest and your belly and your back. And then traveling up to notice the shoulders, the arms, the hands, all seated here in this moment. And then traveling up to noticing the neck, the head, and the face. And really just take a moment to become aware, to become mindful and aware of this moment, this present moment that we are in right now. And really begin here to pay attention to the body. Also start to notice your environment and maybe if there's any sounds in the environment. And really just start to notice yourself seated here in this moment. And let's begin the practice now, the 4-7-8 breathing technique. And I will guide you through it. So let's inhale for 4 seconds through the nostrils. I will count. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding for 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhaling for 8. 1. Out of the mouth. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And just take a moment to notice how you feel. Breathing normally and naturally after doing that technique. Just take a moment to notice the mind, notice the body, notice how you're feeling in this moment. And we're going to do that one more time. So if you find yourself worrying about the counting, just focus on retaining and exhaling the breath, and I will do the counting. So just no need for you to do the counting if it's difficult. So again, just take a moment to take a couple normal, natural breaths, and we'll do the technique one more time. Just taking a couple normal, natural breaths. And let's prepare to do this one more time. So breathing in through the nostrils for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding for 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Breathing out through the mouth for 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Good. Now allowing your breath to become normal and natural again, and taking a moment to notice how you're feeling. Noticing the mind, the body sensations, and also a feeling of your breath in this moment. Noticing how you feel. Good. So this is the 4, 7, 8 breathing technique. This is the first technique that you can practice on your own and just, start to play around with if you like. And now we're going to do box breathing. So this is the next breathwork technique. And this is a deep breathing breathwork technique that helps us to reduce that feeling of stress and also improve focus. You may have heard of this. It's also called 4-4-4-4 breathing or 4 square breathing. Box breathing, it helps us to calm our nervous system, and really by helping us to focus on our breath, we can get out of that anxious thinking or the worried mind and the overstimulation to help us see things clearly and as they are in the moment. So I will guide you through this practice one more time. So again, I invite you to come to sit up straight. Hands can be in the lap or down by your sides. And just take a moment to lower the eyes or close the eyes completely, lowering the eyes down to the ground with a soft gaze, or closing the eyes completely. And just take a moment to breathe normally and naturally once again. And we're going to begin in a moment. So in a moment, we'll begin here. All right, so we're going to start by inhaling for 4, holding the breath for 4, exhaling for 4, and then pausing again for 4. So let's get started. We'll do this one time, we'll have a break, and then we'll do it one more time. So inhaling for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding the breath for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhaling for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pausing for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. And just take a moment now to bring your breath to breathing normally and naturally. And notice how you're feeling. Notice your experience in this moment. And for those of you that had their eyes open, you noticed that I was drawing a box with my finger. So that is one way that you can do this technique by using a finger to actually draw a box. You would inhale for 4 counts, so drawing the box for 4 counts, hold the breath for 4 counts, exhale for 4 counts, and pause for 4 counts. So if you like, if that helps, you can also just draw a box with your fingers while you practice that technique. That's why it's called box breathing. And in a moment, we'll try it one more time. So taking a moment to breathe normally and naturally. Notice how you're feeling. Notice your experience. And we'll begin again. So allowing the eyes to close if they are open, or just lower slightly to the ground if you like. And let's begin now. Breathing in for 4 counts through the nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding the breath for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhaling for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. And pausing for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now coming back and allowing the breath once again to be normal and natural in this moment. Taking a moment to notice your experience. Notice what effects, if any, these breathwork techniques have had. And I'll invite you to come to gently open up the eyes once again to continue our presentation. So you've just learned again 4-7-8 breathing and box breathing. And now we're going to go into talking a bit about meditation. So meditation, again, is a practice that we can use to become more mindful. And of course, meditation helps with stress. And how does it help with stress? When we practice meditation, we can intentionally become less reactive. It helps us to reduce our reactivity. Because when we are not being mindful, for example, when we're on autopilot, that is when we're not necessarily aware of our reactions and we can become more reactive. So the opposite of being mindful is autopilot. And when we are mindful and we practice meditation, that can help us reduce that reactivity and become and promote present moment awareness. And when we reduce our reactivity, that can help us become more emotionally regulated. Meditation also is really great at promoting relaxation. It also helps us to improve our focus and feel less distracted and more focused. Meditation is also a wonderful way to encourage and enhance a feeling of self-compassion and care for ourselves. When done over time, we can become more resilient when we practice meditation. Meditation can help us when we're anxious. It helps with depression. It helps reduce blood pressure. And if we're experiencing any digestive conditions, it can help with those. It can help to have more proper immune system functioning and enhanced immune systems. It helps with chronic pain and also with symptoms of cancer and chronic illness. So the pain and fatigue associated with cancer can be also really, really helped with meditation. And today we're going to go into doing what is called a belly breathing meditation. So belly breathing, or diaphragmatic breathing, many people have called it, is when we intentionally bring awareness to our breath at the belly. And when we use belly breathing, that can help us when we're feeling anxious. It can help us with our moods. For example, if you're feeling sad or tired or down or any kind of negative emotion or mood, it can really help to change your mood. When you breathe more deeply through the belly, you increase oxygen to the body. So you'll be oxygenating your body. It also decreases our heart rate and our blood pressure. And of course, when we're anxious, we can experience a higher heart rate and blood pressure. And then lastly, it helps to stimulate the immune system. So we're going to go into a belly breathing meditation now. So once again, I'll invite you to come to sit upright so that your back is straight and your belly has room to expand and contract here. So we don't want to sit scrunched up. We want to sit upright. Shoulders can be back and down, and the hands can rest in our laps or down by our sides. And of course, the invitation here is to close the eyes if you like, or lower the gaze with a soft gaze down to the ground beneath you. And as we begin here, just take a moment now to once again feel settled in the body. So drop the awareness from the mind, the thinking mind, down into the physical body and start to notice all the points of contact that your body is making with the ground beneath you. So the feet in touch with the ground, feeling the soles of the feet in connection with the ground, feeling the legs and the back of the legs supported by the chair or cushion, couch beneath you. Coming up to noticing the tailbone, noticing the sit bones, also being supported in this moment. And then from there, coming to notice the belly and the chest, noticing the back and the feeling of the chair or cushion behind you on your back. Coming up now to noticing the shoulders, the chest area, and the arms. And then from here, dropping awareness down into the hands and getting a sense of noticing the hands in your lap, or maybe they're down by your sides. So taking a moment just to feel your hands. And then from here, coming up once again to the shoulders and the neck, and all the way back up to the head. And now just taking a moment to notice the entire body seated here in this moment. Becoming aware of your entire body seated here in this moment and feeling all those points of contact the body is making with the surface beneath you in this moment. And we're going to begin here now. As you become aware of your breath, we're going to begin here now by placing one hand on the chest and one hand on your belly. So with the eyes closed or open, however is comfortable for you, I invite you to place one hand on the chest and one hand on the belly. And now with these hands here, just start to notice your breath. So start to notice the body as it moves, as you breathe in and out at the chest and at the belly. And get a sense of the feeling of the chest and the belly as they rise and fall with each breath. And I'll invite you to notice now, where do you feel your breath more? So are you feeling it more in the hand that's on your chest? Or more in the hand that's on your belly? And really just begin to notice, where do you feel your breath more right now? And if your mind wanders during this practice, just know that that's normal, it's natural, and just bring it back to the feeling of the breath at the chest and the belly. And now I'll invite you to bring both of your hands down to the belly. So both hands can be on the belly now. And we're going to intentionally cultivate breath in the belly. So as we breathe in through the nose, I'll invite you to expand your belly. So as you breathe in, expand your belly out. And then as you breathe out, contract the belly to the spine. So breathing in, we're going to expand the belly out. Bring all the breath into the belly. Breathing out, gently contracting the belly to the spine, breathing out of the nostrils. Breathing in, expanding the belly. And breathing out, gently contracting the belly to the spine. So it's an intentional breathing in through the nose, filling the belly up with air, expanding the belly out. And then a slow exhale out of the nostrils as the belly pushes the air out of the body, gently contracting to the spine. Breathing in, expanding the belly intentionally. Breathing out, gently contracting the belly. Bringing all of the air in and out at the belly. So now we'll add some counting to this. So now I invite you to breathe in for 3 counts, expand your belly for 3 counts, and breathe out for 6 counts. Exhale and empty the belly out for 6 counts. Breathe in for 3 counts, expand the belly. Breathe out for 6 counts, contract the belly. Breathing in for 3 counts, expanding the belly. Breathing out for 6 counts, feeling the belly contracting down towards the spine. And just keep breathing in that way. We're filling the belly for 3 counts, inhaling through the nose. And exhaling the belly for 6 counts, exhaling through the nose. So think about a time as you breathe like this that you've ever seen a baby breathing. Call to mind a time if you have a baby in your life or if you've ever can recall a time when you've seen a baby breathing. When the baby breathes, the belly expands and contracts. So we're copying that thing that we see babies do. They breathe through their bellies, and we were all born breathing that way. Over time, the breath has come up to the chest. So what we're doing is intentionally breathing like we did when we were babies. Their whole belly expands on the inhale and contracts on the exhale. And you can think about your breath here just like you would a ship with an anchor. So imagine in your mind now a ship that is out on the lake. The ship is tied down to the pier with an anchor. And maybe it's a windy day and the ship moves side to side with the wind, just like your breath may have thoughts, your mind may have thoughts. But ultimately, that ship will stay put because it's tied down with an anchor. And so here you can think about your breath at the belly as an anchor that brings you back to this moment over and over and over again, whenever you notice that your mind has wandered. So again, inhaling for 3 counts, expanding the belly, and slowly exhaling for 6 counts, contracting the belly. And we'll take a couple more breaths like that as we come to the end of our belly breathing practice. Inhaling for 3 and expanding. Exhaling for 6, contracting. And as we come to the end of this practice, I invite you to lower your hands once again into your lap or down by your sides. Bring your breath back to just its normal, natural rhythm, allowing it to just breathe on its own. And take this moment now to notice your experience. Notice what you're feeling. Notice how you're feeling. Notice your experience of this moment. What thoughts are present? How is the body? And just notice what you're feeling. And in a moment, we'll come to the end of this practice. Taking a moment to notice your body, all the points of contact the body is making with the chair or the cushion beneath you. Feeling the breath flowing normal, natural, on its own, involuntarily. And then I'll invite you to begin to come out of the practice by gently fluttering the eyelids. Maybe you want to wiggle the fingers and wiggle the toes, or take any stretches that you may like overhead, maybe stretching the arms, the legs, and gently making your way back to our workshop, noticing how you're feeling. So we just did our belly breathing meditation. Again, this meditation is designed to help with anxiety, help with our mood, increase oxygen, decrease heart rate, blood pressure, which is associated with high levels of anxiety, and also stimulate the immune system. So just notice what you're feeling after engaging with this practice in this moment. So as we come to the end of today's workshop, I want to share with you a little bit about mindfulness programs. So mindfulness programs are available at the Cancer Wellness Center and in many places, many organizations offer them. And I recommend that if you're interested in breath work or meditation or mindfulness, that you really begin by taking a live class, either in person or virtually with a certified teacher. Really want to stress that the teacher is certified and from a place that is well reputable. Live classes offer quite a variety of components that are really useful in learning these practices. And that includes some didactic learning, which is, education about the practices, which we just learned about today. There's an element of group sharing. And when we share in groups upon the experiences that we have in these programs, we learn that we're not alone in our experiences. There's a feeling of, oh, this person also felt this way. Oh, this person also has this question, so I'm not alone. It's a feeling of common humanity. And then there's also a sense of community. We develop a sense of community showing up, every week, seeing the same people. We feel a sense of support, I'm going to show up to my class. My classmates, I've begun to know them. They're all expecting me. And I'm also feeling validated in how I feel with these practices or whatever I'm experiencing. And lastly, there's a sense of accountability. You sign up for a program, you show up, you remain accountable to your group and to your teacher and your class. When you take these mindfulness programs, you're going to be learning a variety of practices, such as you did today. We've learned 3 of them. And what you'll do over time is you'll create a toolbox, a really, really useful toolbox of tools you can use depending on situations that come up in life for you that are useful. So maybe you want to practice belly breathing, if something stressful is happening, or maybe you want to practice box breathing. So you'll have a variety of different tools over time that will get larger and larger as you take programs. And lastly, I like to say that mindfulness, breath work, meditation, all of these things are dose dependent. The more we practice and the quality of our practice, the more of its benefits we will receive. So just like an athlete, if you're practicing, let's say, basketball, you're going to become a better athlete if you keep practicing your layups over time. If you do it once, every couple weeks, your layup might not be as good as someone who practices every day. So just like an athlete who intentionally trains, physically their body, this is basically mental training. And the more we do it, the more of its benefits we're going to experience. So with that, I'd like to close today's program, and I want to thank everyone for being here today. It's been wonderful to share these practices with you and to teach you about breath work, meditation, and how it can help with stress and what we're experiencing today. So thank you all so much.